Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Minecraft video. Today you'll notice that we are not where we typically are because, well, the world is incredibly flat and boring. And that is because I've put together a new test world to try out, redstone things, other farms, and the like, just to kind of get an idea of what can be accomplished. And today we'll be looking at, well, you've already seen in the thumbnail, but this is a not so typical wheat farm. And I say that more to the effect of it being atypical in its design. So, as you may be familiar, an auto-harvesting wheat farm is pretty basic in terms of how it's meant to work. You can have water flowing up to 8 blocks away from the original source block in direct lines, and that's what we have here. With 8 blocks coming out this way, and then the water should, and if it's able to, it should fill out on the direct diagonal between there and the source block that it has. So the way that we have this farm set up, it will auto-harvest upon pressing this button over here. It will auto-harvest all of the wheat that's currently grown. Now, it's a little bit more compactor of farm that you can stick further out of the way, which is the reason that I really kind of like it the way that it is. But there are just a couple of brief things that we want to touch on. First is we have these hoppers that are feeding into each other in a zigzagging motion all the way across over to this chest. And then we do have one additional hopper that feeds in the back that has a honey block up on top. The reason that this honey block is here is because the honey block is not a full block. So the items can cheat their way across this block instead of getting caught on the edge and actually interface with this hopper and get picked up as the water dispenses from here over. So let's go ahead and run it on its harvesting cycle so you can see just kind of what it does. It's pretty simple, pretty easy in terms of harvesting, and then with another click of the button it turns off. Now the other thing that we'll do while we're waiting for the items to gather up in that chest is you do need to have water running along the edges here to keep the farmland moist and wet, and that actually reaches all of the extremities of this farm, and you can see that it stays nice and hydrated. In this farm I do not have any additional water hanging out anywhere else. Now, the harvesting portion, it does take a fair minute to have all of the items cycle through, but after a short amount of time, the items will all filter in to the chest here, and of course the ones from here are going to filter out of this chest a lot quicker. Now, you could probably speed this up by splitting the difference and putting the chest here instead. And then adding an extra hopper here, and that should help consolidate items a little bit quicker in here. But for ease of demonstration, this is the way that we had it set up. And then as you can see, as we have a peek inside our chest, I have laid out some additional seeds to help auto-filter the seeds into a better area. You could probably, and I may look into, a sorting system that will detect the seeds, pull the seeds out of the chest, and then recycle them for some bone meal that can be used in other projects elsewhere. But from this particular farm, you get about 36 wheat, which is a little bit more than half a stack because we are using a little bit more than half a plot of farmland. But even though this farm itself is pretty basic in its structure and design, you can actually expand on this a little bit more. And for that, we're going to zoom over here to a similar concept of a farm that has been souped up a little bit to a larger scale. And we'll check and see just how much this one is able to do. Now, I'm already aware that it's going to be doing more. Up here at the top, it's a little bit smaller than this test size over here, and that is because we need the water from this dispenser up top to run down off of the edge and get down to the end collection system or collection area. So we actually have 7 blocks running along the X and Z coordinates here. and then an additional 8 blocks that run out to the end of this. And in theory, you could make it larger and larger, following that same structure of 7 to 7 to 7 to 7, and then having 8 in the last row. But do keep in mind that you still have to come through and reseed and restock this place. So this is really about as large as I would conceivably make this farm. And by the way, you can do this with any type of plantable item that is not a pumpkin or a melon. So every other type of plant you can do this with. You can make this work with beets, carrots, potatoes, even netherwort. Swapping out the dirt for soul sand will work in a farm like this. Now, a couple of additional adjustments that have been made, if we can actually... Now, a couple of additional adjustments that have been made here. We're down underneath the farm at this point. There are a couple of additional water blocks that are needed, and that's right here below these blocks at the edge of the upper place, and you can kind of see the water through here. But that is going to be needed to keep the lower terrace hydrated in the way that it's meant to be. Everything else is majorly aesthetic. I've made this so you can kind of enclose yourself into it or enclose it out of the way of different things. So you have this iron door that, and you don't have to use iron, I just did because it works a little bit better with the quartz that I have. So I've got this iron door that you have a button on both sides that you can use to open up and get into the farm itself. And then I do have the top edges lined with slabs to make the top portion of this build spawn proof, and then I just went ahead and put in some glass panes along the side so you can check in and see how your farm's doing. And then we have the similar collection method down here, basically the exact same thing that we saw over here with the honey block down at the end, allowing the items to flow into the chest. And then we have the chest itself that's down here below, and we can still access it because we have a slab on top instead of a full block. Now, the only thing that you really need to be aware of with the redstone for this, it's very, very basic, but to trigger the redstone collection, you just need to run a redstone wire. On this larger variety, you will need a repeater somewhere in between. I've gone ahead and placed it here. And then you do need to run the redstone up 1 block so it is on the same level as the dispenser. So if we were to break out this block here, you're going to see that that's the top of our dispenser, and that's how it interfaces with this redstone wire to receive the signal. So let's go ahead and run this farm and see how many goods come out of this one. And you'll see that it is quite satisfying and fun to watch as all of the items come zooming down to the end and the edge. Now, I do think that we've lost a little bit of some efficiency here with this end, so you may want to make your entrance to it a little bit further back and maybe add an additional slab over there. But everything else is staying put very nicely as the collection system walks up. And then, of course, for accessing the farm itself, you would just need to come in here and fill in the rest of it with some seeds, which you always get with wheat. You always get more seeds than what the wheat you harvest is, so you'll always have more than enough to replenish the farm. Now, the only other thing that I've done here is right here along the edges, I have gone ahead and put in some full blocks over the top of these hoppers, but since they're being fed from the side, they will still filter out their items to here as the items are being collected. Alright, so the item collection is complete, so let's go ahead and open this chest and see how much we have. And you can see that this is actually just about as efficient as the overall farm, or the farm that you've seen in my server, because the lower plot is a lot larger than the upper plot. So you can see that we do get a full stack of items. And then, well, let's just go ahead and showcase. This is how efficient my personal farm would be. So it's actually just a difference of 1. And this is a type of farm that you can just tuck out of the way, because with the standard farm that I have on the server, or on our server, where it is 7 blocks by 8 blocks at the top, and then an 8 by 8 down at the bottom, with a singular water collection stream down at the end, it gives off this many returned goods. Whereas the one that we have designed here, it's just 1 fewer. And again, you can kind of tuck this away in a corner or put it somewhere else. Maybe just, even put it in the corner of your basement. Now, that means that in theory, if you were to ramp this up again by making this one edge shorter along the side here to make it 7 long, and then made 1 more tier that is 8 additional blocks in length, you would then start to surpass the efficiency of a 3-tier farm on the 7x7x8 dimension, or the 7x8, 7x8, and then another 8x8 down at the bottom tier of that. So overall, you can kind of make this more compact and out of the way, and I actually think that it looks a little more aesthetically pleasing than the farm that I've put together. So I anticipate putting something like this to use in some future games or projects or server invites that I have. But that is going to do it for today's video and a look at a very non-conventional but still very efficient wheat farm. Let me know what you think of these types of farm designs in the comments down below, as if you do enjoy them, I would be more than happy to do a couple of other farm designs to play around with the concept a little bit more. But thanks again for watching, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, as there are videos coming to you on a daily basis. We'll be back again tomorrow with our Breath of the Wild video, and then a very, very special video coming to you on Monday that I'm very excited for and hope that you enjoy as well. So thanks again for watching, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Bye-bye.